So as many of you guys know, I'm a second generation insurance professional, and throughout my career I've had the opportunity to serve on the agency side and the carrier side. But you know, the conversation's always been the same. It's been about the customer life cycle, it's been about the hard market, the soft market, it's been about what's next in the industry. And we're going to tackle all of those subjects as we get into season 3 of the podcast. We're taking the podcast to a whole new level here. Welcome to the VIP Podcast, Season 3. Let's go. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, we are here. We're back again. I'm so glad you're here with us. And this is my favorite part of my job here, Sid. I love doing this podcast.
Oh, I know. I can feel it. The energy is radiating today.
I love getting to talk to you guys, the audience. I love getting to be here. I hope you're watching. You know, I put on my favorite t-shirt for you, so I'm hoping you're watching. If you want your own, sorry, you can't have one. But maybe we can make some merch one day. But
hopefully.
Yeah, maybe. Guys, I really am excited you're here because, you know, our guest today, I've heard so many good things from Sid and Chad about. So I'm excited you're here hanging out with us. And we've got Denis Mrkva. Sorry. And I'm excited about getting to know you. I just met him 10 seconds ago, so I'm excited. I don't know a lot about him, so I'm going to pass the mic off to you, Sid. If you want to do the intro, that'd be great.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So you guys are going to get a deep dive on all things analytics and data. Denis actually attended Accelerate 2024 in New Orleans, Louisiana, just a few weeks ago, where we had over 1,500 insurance professionals gather and collaborate on what it takes to, you know, be a competitor in 2024 in the insurance space. And Denis led an amazing session, packed to the brim on data and analytics. And we got a ton of good feedback on the session itself. So we said, okay, we need to get this story out to a broader audience. And he has agreed to humor us, to be with Heath and I today for about an hour. I think we could probably keep him for longer than that, and give you guys an inside scoop on what Keystone Agency Partners is doing and just how to think about this complicated Wild West of a world that is data and analytics. So, oh no, I saw the hand.
Yeah, there's another guest on here too as well, which is his accent. So I can't wait for you guys to hear that too.
Yes, he has an amazing
Denis
accent.
And his awesome accent.
Yeah.
So, anyhow.
And let me give you guys a quick 30,000 foot view on Denis, and I'll let him take it away and tell his story, which he will do a much better job of than I. But just to give you a sneak peek, before he entered the insurance industry, Denis actually led several analytics organizations for GE. Yes, oh, wow. General Electric money businesses. Assignments included Lowe's credit card portfolio analytics, portfolio segmentation and pricing analytics, and analytics for personal finance consumer business. Then he dipped a toe into insurance. And as we all know, once you're in insurance, it's hard to get out. And he has truly been here ever since. He's led business intelligence, data science, data management, and other analytics-oriented initiatives for, here we go, drum roll, Farmers Insurance, The Hartford, and most recently, Aetna. Today, though, he is responsible for developing analytics that enables producers, agency management, and Keystone Agency Partner leadership to identify growth opportunities, effectively deploy resources, and provide cross-platform and industry intelligence and benchmarking. I know. I can't believe we got him on. I feel very lucky. So without further ado, Denis Mrkva, the VP of Data and Analytics at Keystone Agency Partners. Welcome, sir.
Also known as Denis the Carrot.
Yes.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys, for having me.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about your journey. Obviously, we heard you started outside the industry. Maybe you could give us a little sneak peek on why you chose data and analytics, besides the fact that you must be a genius, and then how you ended up in the insurance industry.
So data and analytics, it really goes back to my education. I got my degrees in economics from Arizona State. I got my bachelor's and master's in economics, and actually in my master's study, I specialized in quantitative business analysis. applying stats and math in helping businesses optimize their operations. And this was early 2000s, when the data and analytics was just entering corporate America, so to speak. And it's interesting because the first industry that has applied data and analytics to try to predict some sort of behavior was psychology. It all started, psychology was one of the first fields that started using statistics to understand behavior of people and how to, whatever they needed to do. And then it moved into other parts of a corporate world. So by the time I graduated, like 2002, I got a job in Phoenix, New West Energy, which was forecasting some energy during my master's degree. And once I graduated, I actually purposely tried to find a job in the corporate world with focus on data and analytics. That's how I ended up at GE Money, where I spent several years just really learning how to take that knowledge, theoretical knowledge that we all get at school, and then apply to help businesses optimize their performance. Right? If you think about a business, I never thought of it as a family. Family, you have to love your family no matter how lazy or sloppy or good or bad they are.
Nice.
Business is like a sports team. We are professional colleagues who are earning living together. And our goal is to ensure that each one of us, as well as we as the team or organization, perform at our maximum. And to do that, you have to actually rely on numbers and understanding what is happening within different parts of my organization, and how do you then achieve goals? How do you improve somebody's productivity? How do you improve a response rate to your ad campaign? You have to actually start using math and stats. And that's how I end up in a data and analytics. And in 2008 and 2009, I went to work for Farmers Insurance in California. From GE, after 5 years, I went to Farmers, and I spent a few years doing underwriting analytics. Basically, we were helping actuarials to price the underwriting risk for commercial books of business, which is very interesting because at that point in time, I realized not only I need to know math and stats in order to do my job, I need to be able to understand technology, because our job at Farmers and a couple other companies was real-time pricing. When somebody's applying for a credit card or insurance, you don't want to wait. You want to know, what is my rate? What's my interest rate? What's my insurance premium? And what's happening in those few seconds between your agent submitting the quote and telling you the rate is actually a bunch of numbers and models and statistics being run and trying to predict your risk for whether it's paying back your credit card debt or having high losses in the insurance world. To me, that's really fun. I always liked numbers. I'm very comfortable with numbers. I came to the United States. I was 24 years old. I didn't speak English. So it took me a couple of years to learn English. And when I went back to school, to college, I was 28. So by the time I graduated, got my master's, I was 32. So I really knew what I wanted to do. Always liked the numbers. And with the degrees and opportunities I got, I realized that I can have a really good career doing what I really like to do in the analytics and data.
How was it that you came to find out about the Keystone Agency Partners opportunity? Because it sounds like you were in the carrier space for a while, and also large corporate America. I mean, Aetna is huge company, and then and not that Keystone. I mean, it is just smaller than Aetna, right? So how did you come across that opportunity?
So I think at some point in time, we all have to choose what type of jobs we want to have. I spent about 20 years in corporate America, where you have really huge organizations. We're talking, CVS is 300,000 people. GE at the time was, so those are huge. And there is so many well-established ways that doesn't allow you a lot of freedom not freedom necessarily doing what you want to do, but continuing to stay interested in the work around you. I also wanted to really get away a little bit from that too rigid corporate world. I purposely wanted to go to work for a company that's owned by private entity. I believe that the number of meetings, that the number of things that are done in corporate world, from trainings to just meetings, one-on-ones or whatever meetings, is so inefficient that start taking toll not only personally on you, but at teams and performance. So to me, as soon as I had opportunity to actually get in touch with people who were looking for somebody to help them build data and analytics, and Keystone Agency Partners is owned by Bain Capital, so we are a private equity-owned company. When I joined a couple of years ago, it was a startup that was just started when the pandemic began, had a really good vision of what they want to do, and the record by then. So I knew I wanted to join a startup that's actually in a rapid growth mode. I like to see the output we create over time. And when you start from nothing, it's easy to see. So it was private equity-owned company. It's the insurance industry, which I believe, I've been in the industry 15 years. You can really make a good living. You can learn a lot of good stuff. And it's really very complex. I worked in the consumer finance. I worked in some other industries, but insurance industry is pretty complex. So it gave me all the things that I like to do. And it allowed me to tap into some of the today's technology and data as we are building the infrastructure for KAP.
Yeah. What are some of the, oh, I saw the hand.
No, you go. I was going to say, but you started going.
Go ahead.
For me, I'm not a numbers data guy. A lot of people say, I'm not into the numbers, but as soon as you start throwing up stats, people get interested. But I digress back to originally. I feel like with data and numbers, one of the things I learned as a former agency owner and in this role now, the thing that's fascinating about data, the things you're talking about, is numbers don't have feelings, and they don't lie, and they don't, lead you in a wrong direction. They're just, the numbers are what they are is what they are. And I think whether you're an underwriting perspective, sales, operations, wherever your role is within our industry, and there's so many other roles I didn't bring up, but those numbers, that strategy, those, data, all those things, metrics, they don't have those feelings, and they can lead you in a path to help you to get better or worse or to fix problems. There's so many different avenues you can go. Again, I wanted to kind of say something after you mentioned that, just because I think that's huge in our industry. And I think you made the right move of coming into our industry and bringing that knowledge that you had.
Mm-hmm.
The ability to use the numbers without the emotions is so important. And
100%.
Honestly, the industry and the function that I've seen people adapted more than any is, contrary to what you would think, is in sales and in insurance. Salespeople really quickly realize that, okay, this can help me, because at the end of the day,
100%, yes.
It is not about telling you what's not working or pointing to what's wrong. It is just telling you, hey, there may be opportunity. If we are struggling to grow in a certain area, here's the 2 to 3 factors that are lagging versus what your plan may be. Now, what are you going to do with that? As a business person is really up to you. Numbers can tell you any story. Can you implement what needs to be done to improve the numbers is different. Before coming into the United States, I used to play ice hockey. So I really spent majority of my life in sports. And it's interesting because it's all about the numbers. Those numbers are, whether it's how strong you are, how fast you are, how quickly you can move, how many push-ups you can, all these are just the numbers. And all you are trying to do is train yourself, train your body to be able to improve those numbers. There's nothing different happening in the insurance industry every day. When a producer wakes up and says, I have limited amount of time, I have limited amount of calls I can make, so better than randomly starting to dial in and realizing that 75, 80% I won't even get hold of. Let me do some analysis to see what should be my priority to call. Maybe. So those are some simple things that data analytics starts doing. And then you can become really complex. So how do you price the risk? How do you structure your risk management so that you minimize the risk? Those are all the things you can use data analytics for. But it has to start in a very simple, rudimentary way, where you're helping people just to do basic things better, more effectively and fast and more efficiently.
Well, there's also a level of accountability that comes with stats and numbers and metrics that a lot of salespeople don't like or also do like. And I think there's also that level of it that, you know, you probably could have went into for a long time as well. But again, it's simple metrics, but it's also very big. Accountability is a big part of it.
And the numbers create accountability without telling that to people. If you just put the numbers in front of them and let them come to work every day and look at leaderboard, how many sales we have by agent? Nothing. You don't have to do anything. No thumbs up, no thumbs down. Name, sales. Yeah. If you do that and put it in the hallway as they come in every day to work, they will see, believe me, after 2 weeks, they'll be working harder to get closer to the guy or the girl at the top. That's human nature.
Yeah.
Just numbers helps you to get there faster.
What are some of the numbers or metrics that you've decided are the most important for CAP and agencies in the network?
Great question.
I think a lot of people struggle when they get into this conversation around analytics with what KPIs matter most, what should I focus on, because the world is a little limitless. So where would you tell an agency to start?
It's a limitless and it's situational. It really depends what the goal you want to have. And here's a simple example. As a business, you generate revenue and you also generate a profit. Amount of money I'm going to charge you for the product and amount of money, profit I'm going to make after I pay for the cost that I have incurred to get that product to you. Well, if company's goal is to increase revenue, regardless of the profit, and that's very legitimate goal in early stages of your startups, companies, when you are in the first few years, you want to show revenue, ability to generate revenue, even if you operate at a loss. Well, in that case, you will really start focusing on how can I drive more traffic, more sales. I'm going to maybe do some promotions. You know, how many times you open your mailbox or your email inbox and you see those promotions, you have 15%, or if you buy today, 6 months, no interest, no payment. Those are the companies who decided our strategy is to grow the revenue, not pay attention to profitability, and our KPIs will be around how many customers we are getting, how much money they're spending with us, and what is that revenue doing. On the other hand, you have a company that's 15 years in business that now needs to start delivering money back to the investors. In that case, it's about profit. My goal is not necessarily to increase my sales, but I need to be able to ensure that my cost is minimized, the efficient. And now you start realizing, okay, well, KPI may be how many units I can produce per factory worker. Or in the insurance industry, how many customers I need to have my customer service representative manage so I can ensure that my cost is minimized. So KPIs really are, again, they are, although they seem limitless, couple dozen KPIs will cover most businesses, most insurance businesses, and many industries. But the business really, whoever is running the business needs to be able, and the people not only running the business, doing the business, need to be able to understand what is our strategy, what are we trying to move, and what are the levers, i.e. KPIs that we move. How many people we can have? Do we need to hire more to sell more? Do we need to have less in order to have higher profitability on servicing? Those are all the questions that once you have them, data can tell you how you're going to get there.
So it sounds like I'm hearing two buckets of metrics. One earlier you mentioned was more performance based. In the analogy with ice hockey, the speed that you're traveling, the amount of weight that you're lifting in the gym, the number of calls you're making as a salesperson, et cetera. That's a behavior. And then I'm hearing now more like outcome-based metrics. So revenue, profit, it almost seems like your metrics are both at a 30,000 foot, almost, okay, what is the forest that I'm looking at? And then you're in the trees, right?
Yeah.
At the same time. So maybe if you were to give one or two just KPIs to start with in each of those buckets, where would you push people? And I know it's so relational, as you said, it's hard to without seeing an agency, but where would you have them start?
The first would be really productivity in terms of revenue. How much revenue we are producing per producer? How many producers we have that are bringing enough business to offset the expense we incur to enable them within 24 months? How many customers we have, policies per customer. You want to make sure that we want to sell more than one policy per customer. How many years we have customers with us, as well as retention, what % of them are staying. And then you start realizing, okay, I am really, those are half a dozen that will just tell you some ability to produce at a scale. After that, I think you start realizing, okay, well, am I maximizing my revenue? In other words, how do I optimize as an insurance agency my distribution partnerships? And it's not easy. It's very complex to just say, hey, we're going to place the risk in a way that gives us the best return, but can be done. When you start many insurance agencies, and this is very interesting because it is really the insurance industry is owned by small businesses. It's mostly small businesses. It's people coming, waking up. And it's interesting to see that those entrepreneurs are not only growing their businesses through revenue generation, they're actually going and acquiring smaller businesses, integrating with their office. So now you start understanding, how do I integrate the new business that I bought? Do I buy a business in another state that gives me to diversification of risk? Now, if I'm selling commercial lines only and I'm growing, should I buy employee benefits company? And if so, what should be that ratio of my premium and revenue between the two? So these are KPIs that one can look at just for the very high level, as you said, and at the same time, you have to be at the very granular level, your productivity per producer.
So in my career, I've sat on both sides of the desk with the same stats. I was a carrier rep for a while, similar to, maybe some of the carriers you may have worked with, and I would sit across the desk from agency owners or marketing people or operations, whatever. And we would go through these numbers and these stats, so to speak, KPIs of, hit ratios and, conversion rates. And we would look at, all kinds of different things. And then, on the other side, I would be, as an agency owner, I'd hear these reps come in and talk about, well, where are these numbers? What's going on here? And then we would dive, as you talk about, even granted deeper into it of like certain niches that I could get into and, where we were working, where it wasn't working. And there's a lot of power, and it empowers the conversations a lot better when you have those numbers. You can see them from both sides and you come together on that. And I wanted to hear your thoughts on some of that and, kind of, I guess,
carrier partnership.
Yeah. And just from that standpoint, of just empowering the conversation better.
As you said, I spent about 15 years on the carrier side and often worked with we distributed products through independent agents mostly. If you take any carrier, the 90% of products that are sold to independent agencies. So, and there is a mutual need for these two parties to work to ensure that the cost and revenue is optimized.
Yeah,
we make money if they make money, but we also have fiduciary responsibility toward our customers to give them the right product. So, what is the right product? How do you help them understand a benefits of having the right product to be able to offer the right product? Now, this all goes down to, can we take an agency's book of business and can we segment it by line of business, by region, by industry, sub-industry? Start looking at what's our acquisition cost, what's our loss. Think about break even. It's interesting because it's a very basic KPI. Break even is the amount of money that we need to generate in order just to pay the expenses associated with the servicing a policy. So that means ownership makes no money. And that number, often you will see companies say break even is $700. Okay. Well, if you start segmenting by different lines of business, different customer segments, regions, you realize that break even maybe average is 700, but in some is 300, another one is $1,200. Well, that starts giving you understanding of where can I deploy my resources in order to make money. It's all about ability to give some information back to that analysis and segmentation. Say, okay, well, you got to make some decisions. Either you deploy resources to more efficiently, like you did in this segment that's 300, because operating at $1,200, nobody benefits. You're not making money, and at some point, insurance agency is going to close the door, so the customers lose everything. So working with carriers to be able to exchange the data very effectively between the entities is very important, and that's one of the areas that I think in the insurance industry is still lagging, given where we are today with the technology, the cost, the technology, the data, the speed with which systems can be integrated and protected should help insurance distribution like our agencies and the carriers to exchange the data faster and utilize it better. And that's one of the areas that I think we in KAP, again, we are insurance broker. We own 20 agencies. We are growing at a very rapid pace. We will continue growing. Our goal is not only to be able to provide the right level of service to our customers, but have the right level of partnership with our carriers and wholesalers to be able to benefit all of us, all three parties, carriers, us, and customers, with the right product.
And when you talk about customers, we talked about the carrier relationship. But when you're talking about these agencies you guys are a part of, and you're talking to the customer, the end user, so to speak, and you can use metrics when they're saying, why is my rate going up, which we hear a lot right now in a hard market, you can be able to say, because of these amount of claims, or because this segment of business has this many losses, or this carrier has had this many losses in your region, so they need to put a mandatory on, or they need a moratorium, I should say, or they need to pull out, or whatever it might be. Once you can have the customer understand that, again, it empowers that relationship a whole lot better. And you see the head nods, as I saw with you as I was saying it.
That's exactly what we are doing today. Is we have established a relationship with some of our major carriers where we get information on exactly that. Here's the premium that we generated. Here's incurred losses. Here's loss ratio. And in some cases, loss ratio is 120%. I mean, you have to raise that. The only insurance rates are very well regulated by the state's Department of Insurance.
100%.
And to raise the rate, you can't just wake up and say tomorrow is going to be 10%. So you're going to have to submit to every year. You're going to submit your performance to the state Department of Insurance, and if your losses outweigh your revenue, you're going to apply to get 20% increase. Most likely you will not get 20%. They'll give you maybe 6%.
I was about to say, even if you file that with the state, they're never going to give you what you want. They may give you half, or like you said, 6%. And so there's that struggle there, but you got to be able to explain that to your customer, the end user.
Yes. And that's, I think, what's happening is in the environments like this, where you look at the premium increase in the industry over the past 3, 4, 5 years, it's been going nonstop up. Customers are very well educated by now. They want to understand why. And then you also need to be able to shop around. And this is where, again, data comes in. What we are doing at KAP is ability. We have relationship with 800 different carriers. So for us to be able to look at somebody's risk that comes to one of our 20 agencies and very quickly identify if we have a relationship in that area, in that industry to carrier to service that, I think it takes us faster than perhaps most other entities.
Okay, I'm going to jump in here. I'm going to take us a bit on a left-hand turn, because we've given people a bit of a sneak peek on use cases of data, what metrics matter. I want to nerd out a bit on the technical side of things, which is what a lot of people don't want to think about or focus on. Things like data management, best practices, infrastructure, consolidation, standardization, normalization. I mean, these are all terms that I've become more and more familiar with as I've been at Vertafore. My question for you is, when you came into Keystone Agency Partners, where did you see the biggest opportunity for improvement as it relates to, the technical side of making sure that the data was trustworthy when it was displayed in these dashboards and when you were handing it over to leaders?
Okay, so at least two different areas there is, okay. and I think you nailed them, which is first is technology. Okay. So when I joined KAP, we really didn't have data, call it data lake database. We had our agencies work through Vertafore and Risk Match to provide a very, decision-making tools to our agencies. But at that point in time, as an entity, the only way to get hands on our information would be through either through Risk Match, Vertafore, or going directly to our agencies and pulling from the transactional systems, which is what we wanted to systematically avoid very quickly. So the very first thing, actually, and this is where you realize today the cost of entry to start data analytics is so minimal. It is really, I was shocked because my goal was very simple. We go to cloud, whether it's Amazon or Microsoft, doesn't matter. We get a set of tools that will help us to build data lake, put some tools to extract the data, and then start working on standardization. But when you look at the price tag that we had to pay compared to what you had to pay 15 years ago, I really think it was maybe fractional. And don't hold me to this, but
yeah, wow.
It is really the cost. So to me, and that happens fast. You need 4 to 6 weeks to have a fully functional data lake on Microsoft or Amazon and ready to go. And from that point on is now, okay, how do I get data to the data lake? Mm-hmm. Oh, again, 15 years ago, you had to use software like SaaS. You had to license it. Companies were spending, millions of bucks just licensing software for us to work with the data.
Yeah.
Today, it's an open source. Python, you can...
Can we go bottom shelf a minute and just tell the audience what a data lake is?
Yeah, how would you describe a data lake?
Yeah. So data lake is a place, think of data lake as a warehouse. Okay, just a fancy name, where we store all the information that we will be using in the future that's organized in some logical way. If you think of if you own a retail stores, those retail stores will have to have a warehouse somewhere that will help them distribute the goods to their customers. So data lake is nothing but a warehouse for us and users. The data is organized there. The complexity of how organization can be structured today makes it so user-friendly. You can store numeric data, of video data, images, with a very reasonable cost, very fast. And another thing that's actually today very convenient for businesses, that the workforce that has the skills that are required to do that is readily available.
So real quick though, why would, let's say someone has they've got insurance technology. Why would they have this other piece of technology where they store the information? I can see an agency in their head saying, well, the information's already stored in the technology I have. So why do I have to have another piece of technology that stores the information?
That's a really good question. Very, 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 very small agency, maybe agency that's owned and operated by 2 people that really has no staff, is better off doing it on their transactional systems. There are no complexities. They know the book of business. If you think of KAP, we own 20 agencies. So if we didn't have the data lake and somebody asked us, if the question was, what is the total amount of premium that KAP has in insurance premium, we would have to go to 20 different agencies, ask them to go to their systems, pull the data, send them the data somehow to us, which will come in different formats. And then we would have to put the data together to start using it. that would take us days. And most of the time, not all 20 would send that to us. People are busy, they sell insurance. So you realize, okay, I have to have a place where I can put all of my information, I can organize it and consume it in a way that allows me to do things a lot faster. So I can answer the questions. If I have 20 producers and how well they are performing, how they compare against each other, what is their plan versus the actual performance? What are the lines of businesses they are good at in selling versus not? How many calls they made today versus how many quotes they issue? Just to answer these questions, you would have to go to several different systems. You would have to extract information somehow. Some of them will let you export in Excel, some of them in PDF. Some of them you have to take a pen and paper and write them down. So it becomes very inconvenient, inefficient. You realize, okay, I just spent 8 hours answering the question that I can answer in 8 minutes. And that 8 hours actually my work, I needed to sell. So efficiency to me is really should be the main driver of businesses. Effectiveness, which is now, can I sell more, will come over time as you realize that data can tell you where the opportunities are, but to execute it, it is really up to business.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's keep going on this train. So we've got the data in a data lake, it's consolidated. You mentioned this logical, structured nature that exists within the data lake. You also mentioned term standardization, normalization. It sounds like there's some additional work that has to be done to the data in the lake before you're showing it to people. Can you help agencies understand why that's necessary? Why isn't the data just perfect when it comes out of their transactional systems, their AMS, their CRM, et cetera?
So there are a couple of things there.
Okay. That he did just lean forward for this question. Yeah.
Here's an example. So you agency has a transactional system. Every month they're going to send a bill to a policy holder, and they'll get a premium and revenue back. So if you go to the system and pull data for Denis Mrkva for the past 12 months, you're going to have 12 transaction line items I don't need 12. I just need to know how much Denis has paid to me. I don't need to know any, and I need to add those things. You start realizing that the data in the transactional systems is made to ensure that the most granular tactical things, operations of the business are carried out. And that's where the data is fed from. But very rarely the rest of business functions, whether it's underwriting or risk or marketing or management, very rarely we need to work with that detailed data. We need to summarize it. We need to standardize it. For example, you have 5 different agents. They all sell travelers insurance. Some of them spell it correctly. Some of them spell TRVL dot. Some of them put nothing. It's travelers.
Yes. We know who you are.
Now you start realizing, there's that AI. AI can help us actually to go through this data every day without ever stopping and trying to figure out what should TRVL be. And after it learns that TRVL is travelers, apply that. So next time when I get a 6th agent and that agent has a completely different way of marking that carrier, I know it's travelers. Now you can say, well, yeah, but we can enforce that everybody enters data correctly and standardized way. Good luck to you, Sid. You try to do that.
Yeah.
So that's why I think you get this notion that, hey, I have to simplify this. I have to make it useful to me in a very efficient way.
Okay. So now how do we get it into the hands of leadership versus producers, team members on the ground, producers and service team members? Are there different tools that we're using, dashboards, reports? How are we getting into their hands?
That's really a good question, because I think it's important to know that the data is information that we present to different levels of audience comes from the same place. Most often is the same information. It's just presented in different way. For producer, if they think about a simple, at KAP, actually, let me tell you what we have. So in our partnership with Vertafore and Riskmatch, we have a set of tools that are on daily basis updated with the data from our agencies. So when our agency producers and agency operators wake up and they want to see what was their business yesterday, they can go to Riskmatch. They will see the performance of the company. If they want to understand what are my clients that are coming up for renewal next month, you can quickly get to that point, and you can start really, we enable them with the most granular data. We enable our frontline workers, if you will. And that's done through a set of tools that needs to be pretty effective in standardizing and integrating a lot of complex information and presenting it in a simple way. And that's what we do in partnership with Riskmatch. Then at the same time, we also have other constituencies. I work for the central KP team. We have our M&A team, we have our finance team, HR team, career team, sales team. We also need to have that information at our disposal, but we are not interested in clients' names and expiration date who are coming up for renewal. All we are interested in is total, how many clients are coming, what are the largest clients that are we having for renewals, do we have enough bandwidth in our workforce that service them? So it is just more summarized information. By the time that report gets to our leadership, they are interested in knowing what's my retention rate? Out of 100 clients that were up for renewal this next month, how many have you retained? So to deliver that, it is all the same data, underlying data, but information is processed differently and the tools are different. We use Power BI for our central team, we use Riskmatch for our producers, and we will use Excel and PowerPoint for our leadership. So you have to be able to have different tools at your disposal. Different audience works with different tools, even though the information that is very similar.
Yeah. So with you joining the CAP team and really taking their data game to the next level, it seems that you've crafted a data culture inside the business. How, when you first came into the business, how it's almost like it's a different language you're introducing, right? How fluent were they in this new culture, this data language? Because I think a lot of agencies out there, even if they know the right metrics, even if they have figured out standardization, even if they've got the right tools, now how do I introduce this to my team is tough. And how do I have these conversations, a carrot versus stick approach, et cetera?
So I'd love to say that, hey, we have established data culture in our company, and we still don't. However, I think I am positively surprised and impressed by the progress we are making. It really is astonishing to see how today we operate within KAP, from our ability to plan our growth, our next acquisitions, to our ability to actually understand and enable our servicing CSRs or producers with the information that's relevant to their work. It is happening now. How successful we will be to ensure that that is part of every agency and every function and a role, time will tell. It's going to take us time, but I really believe what we have done so far in terms of our ability to plan for the year, monitor our performance, put relevant information in the hands of our operators, what may be not going as planned, and what are a few areas that they should look at. And then what I'm not surprised is what I mentioned in the beginning. It is salespeople that will adopt data first. Because it really is. But you have to put that information in front of them. Often we are shy, afraid, whatever it is, to have a little bit of conflict in the beginning, to be uncomfortable in the room, say, hey, let me show you something. I know you're having great business. That's why we bought your business. I know you're doing your best. Let me just show you how you stand with respect to the rest of our agencies or your peers when it comes to these two things. It may be, And again, you have to have a bit audacity, and you have to have an understanding that even though numbers may point that there may be opportunity, that in actuality, you have to listen to that person. So there's a lot about trust that, hey, you're not just looking at the numbers and trying to push me. You're giving me some options and things to think about, and you're helping me think about my business in a different way. That takes time. And I think at KAP at this point, I think it's fair to say we have the core group of people at all levels of organization who on daily basis use information to make their decisions.
Yeah, I think it's funny you brought up sales again earlier, and I'll go back to what I said a little bit ago that I didn't really get into, but it's funny people that say, oh, I'm not a stat person, or I don't care about numbers, but as soon as you start putting them up and you start showing the percentages and the stats and whatever, salespeople start to lean forward and they start to, really pay attention. I see you're feeling the same way, right?
Oh, listen, I think there are two sports that are fighting for the most popular sports in the insurance industry. It's golf and baseball.
Yeah.
And you talk to insurance folks like myself about baseball. It's about stats.
It is 100%.
You talk about golf, they know the stats on the guy.
Mm-hmm.
They know how they hit the ball. So you realize it is in their nature. It really is. It is in their nature to be able to look at the statistic numbers, performance, and actually then do something about it. And that's where all of us can look at the numbers, and all of us can come up with the same thought and idea what to do.
Yeah,
Believe
it's funny.
Ideas.
It's funny you bring that up because my wife will get mad at me because she'll ask me to take out the garbage and I'll forget. She's like, but you could remember this guy had a 325 batting average and he had 3 saves and, 16 stolen bases in the last month. And I'm like, babe, those stats, I just can't help. I just remember them. And he goes, but you can't remember taking out the garbage or empty the dishwasher or whatever. I'm like, crap. But yeah, I think you're right though. Just ingrained in certain personalities and people, and again, I won't say gender roles, but just in general with salespeople or personalities, people just remember certain things better. And there was a whole movie that was Brad Pitt and Jonah Hill and some people about baseball and Moneyball. And how they revolutionized the way, did I say that right? I've done 6 of these in a row, so my words are hard right now. But yeah, I think they've revolutionized the way people look at baseball and the stats you talk about. And again, I think it's the same thing we could do right here in insurance and at KAP. So I wanted to ask you, before I stop talking and let Sid take over again, while I've got the floor, is there any plans in the future with Keystone as a whole to do what you're doing with KAP with Keystone as a whole organization? Mm-hmm. Or do you know the answer to that?
I think a couple of things will be important and will determine which way it can go is the nature of the business model. And Keystone Insurance Group is the franchisee model in which Keystone is helping smaller agencies to have the right contracts with carriers.
Sure.
And that's the area that I believe if you think about what can be done there, is that from that perspective, ability to utilize data between the carriers and the Keystone about the products and coverages and the right level of risk and protection and pricing. That's actually area where I believe, but I hope that at some point Keystone and carriers do. What we are doing at KAP, it's a customer level now. We own our agencies. Those are owners, and we have the rights to data, and we can influence what you do on daily basis. So I think there is opportunity to actually use data in a more scalable way, but maybe in a different area rather than customers and insurance per se, carrier side.
Okay. I just, I don't know if you've heard of it. We have a product, Agency Zoom Enterprise, where it's like a level to be able to connect multiple agencies onto one, platform like that, to be able to share that data. Is there anything, I don't know if you guys are
using? We're looking into that. Yeah, we're looking into that product right now. Some of our agencies are already using. We have our agencies are already using Agency Zoom, and we're also looking at the ability to do enterprise level to actually connect those for us in the central team to understand. A very similar issue that we had when we talked about premium and revenue, what's our lead generation pipeline, if you will.
Yeah, whenever you were talking earlier, I thought that agency Zoom enterprise would be sexy to you, and I thought that might be something you'd be interested in. And so I was glad to hear you guys are looking into something like that.
Actually, we had a meeting last week with Vertafore.
Awesome.
Okay, I know we have to wrap up in a minute or two. I know. Yeah. Okay, I want to ask Denis for a hot take.
Ooh.
On.
All right.
On all things artificial intelligence. What is your over-under on AI taking over the insurance industry? Where do you think it's most effective? Are you guys thinking about it at Keystone? And what have you heard around the industry? And also, this is a lot of questions all at once. I'm just...
I know it's going to come back to AI with you.
I just have to. Are you scared of it? The fear factor seems to be a thing in the industry right now.
Answer all 15 questions in like 3 minutes.
I'm a minimalist in my life, so if I can, somebody else, AI do the work for me. Why not? You're free on time.
I love it. The confidence.
Yes.
I think it's very hype these days, and not only these days, but if you think about AI, artificial intelligence, it's been here for a while. We call it big data, predictive modeling, data science, not AI. It's just a matter of what we have it do for us. Whereas in the past, the AI helped us to understand what happened, maybe even predict what's going to happen, so we then kind of come up with the right message, the right product to that event. We just added computer's ability to actually not only predict what may happen, but tell us what we should do when it happens. But that prediction doesn't come from an unknown place. That's based on the human knowledge and data that we generate. So that's going to continue. And I think what we will find that 20 years down the road, looking back, one will see, well, I'm accomplishing a lot more things each day as a person, whether it's my personal life or professional life. I have more free time to do something, maybe to gain another skills at work. And yes, there will be jobs compromised by AI, but there were jobs compromised when we introduced any technology in the human history, but you find out another jobs. I think it's going to be win-win for everybody, but I think it still is more of a smoke and mirrors when it comes to actual application of AI in the insurance industries. It is very rudimentary.
Yeah.
It is, and I think there is a huge opportunity, especially when it comes to servicing customers and placing the risk. Ability to use AI to actually find the right coverage with the right carrier at the right price, given the uniqueness of the risk and complexity. I think those are two areas that AI should help us in the next 3 to 5 years.
Interesting. Well, there you have it, folks. With that, Heath, shall we close it out?
Yeah, we definitely should.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen,
dudes.
Agents,
Yes.
Dudes, carriers, everyone listening right now, wherever you're at in the industry, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. I know you did.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
And we could have nerded out for another 6 hours about that. And I know you probably could have too. So if you do want to reach out, Denis, I'm assuming, it happens when you assume, but you're on LinkedIn, does that be the best place to find you?
That's the best place and the only place, I think.
And it's DENIS with one N, and then there's a lack of vowels. It's MRKVA, to get the stats right there. You want to make sure you find him there, because I think I'd probably speak for you to say you would be willing to have that conversation, if any people wanted to reach out and talk to you about that. And if you want to learn more about KAP, the whole nine, do that.
And I was going to say, just a plug for his Accelerate session. If you weren't able to make it, we have recordings. NetView will be publishing those. So just look out in the NetView community when those educational sessions come out. Look out for Denis's session. It was great.
Heck yeah. And I'll be releasing some stuff on YouTube from it and stuff like that. So guys, again, if you haven't subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being here with us. And again, I look forward to hanging out with you again as soon as I can. I love being here. I love being on this show with you. I love doing this. Gosh,
Can't wait
so
for
much
the next
fun.
one.
Can't wait.
Let's go.
We'll see you soon. Well, that was a great episode.
Amazing. It was an amazing episode.
I really enjoyed that content. Guys, if you enjoyed that content and you want more of it, make sure you hit the subscribe button.
Nah, dude. You got to tell them to crush it. Crush that subscribe button, guys.
All right. Whether you want to crush it, smash it, hit it.
Bop it?
Sure, we could bop it. Either way, guys, we don't want you to miss another episode. We enjoy spending time with you, the VIP.
Yeah. We'll see you next week.